You can feel it. They're into you, you're into them, and you are ready to swan dive into the deep, passionate waters of doing it. But wait, how do you know you both want to have sex? Like, for sure. Consent seems straightforward. You both want to do it or you don't, but sometimes there's more going on behind a simple yes or no. So let's unpack consent together. Hi, I'm Shampoo Dram, and this is Crash Course Sex Ed. Heads up, in today's episode, we'll be talking about sexual assault, so please keep that in mind and take care when watching. The legal definition of consent varies by state, so when we talk about consent in this episode, we're talking about an agreement between people to engage in mutually enjoyable sexual activity together. And it wasn't that long ago that consent was taught as no means no, but that's not all there is to it, because saying nothing isn't the same as saying yes. Silence can also mean uncertainty or discomfort, much like in the rest of life. To use a non-sexy example, if my neighbor's kid shows up at my house selling celebrity garden gnomes, I might not respond at first. Not because I want a Snoop Dogg garden gnome, but because I'm baffled that this is even a thing. Either way, that kid should not shove a garden gnome into my hands. The same is true for sex. Just because someone doesn't say no doesn't always mean they're saying yes. So, some college students decided to change things up. After a number of sexual assaults at Antioch College in Yellow Springs, Ohio, a feminist student group was fed up. So in 1990, they pitched a different way of thinking about consent. Not as no means no, but as yes means yes. In other words, the absence of a no is not the same thing as a yes. Kissing, grinding, or even, well, we've had sex before, is not an automatic yes. And if someone is sleeping or unconscious, they cannot say yes. Also, consent to one kind of touch isn't consent to another. Each new action needs its own yes. Antioch College formally adopted the students' ideas and created the first ever affirmative consent policy. But when the news hit the wider culture, this idea was framed as ludicrous by media outlets from Saturday Night Live to the New York Times. Many people could not imagine asking, "Can I kiss you?" as anything but a buzzkill. But over time, affirmative consent went mainstream. Many colleges, companies, and governments saw the need for yes-based policies, and a handful of US states began using the affirmative definition of consent in their laws. Recently, movements like Me Too have made it clear how important this definition is. And these days, consent is widely taught as yes means yes. I see you, student activists. Affirmative consent clears up a lot of confusion, whether someone is with a new partner, in a long-term relationship, or anything in between. Because even if you've been with someone forever, that doesn't mean you have to want sex whenever your partner does. Maybe you want to cool it on collecting celebrity garden gnomes for a bit. And also, affirmative consent clarifies that just because someone wants sex doesn't mean they're saying yes to actually having sex. It's possible to be sexually aroused but not actually consent to doing it right here, right now, for any number of reasons. But there are a couple of other huge reasons affirmative consent is so powerful, and they have to do with sexual assault. Often someone experiencing assault can't say no because of something called freeze mode, an involuntary physical response when a person can't move or speak. Freeze is fight or flight's lesser-known cousin, another way the nervous system responds to a threat. And it's a major reason why the absence of a no has never been a reliable sign of consent. And then there's the fact that someone's body can have an involuntary physiological reaction during non-consensual sex, such as erection or orgasm, which doesn't imply they're okay with what's happening. Physical response does not equal consent. All of this is why when I teach about consent, I encourage people to look for an enthusiastic yes. The only way to be absolutely sure your partner is on board with what's happening is to ask. Try a clarifying question or two like, "How are you feeling?" Or, "Do you want to slow things down?" And here's the thing, context is also super important. It's not just about the yes, but about all the circumstances around it. A yes is only consensual if it's freely given, no pressure or manipulation attached. But here's where things can get complicated. Cultural norms and expectations can make someone feel like they have to say yes even if they don't want to. Let's dust off a sexual script we talked about back in episode 6. It's a set of expectations that cast people in certain roles based on their gender. And it goes a little something like this. Men are confident and take control. They want and initiate sex. It's a woman's job to be sexy, but not too sexual, and to accept sex or turn it down. But according to this script, they're also supposed to be nice and accommodating and not not hurt anyone's feelings. We might not all comfortably fit into these gender roles, but culture is strong, and research shows that much like glitter, that stuff sticks. While the numbers vary, some surveys have found that more than 20% of sexually active college women have had at least one sexual experience they didn't want, including times when they said yes to please their partner or because their partner pressured them. And in another study, college men reported having unwanted sex too, when they said yes to sex because they thought they were supposed to, that they'd be mocked if as a guy, they turned down a chance to sleep with someone. These scripts can lead to a yes that isn't really a yes. Nobody wants to get pressured into buying a Post Malone garden gnome. On top of gender norms, consent can also get messy when there's a power imbalance in a relationship. Imagine a student who says yes to sex with a professor because they worry a no could put their grades at risk. Or a person in an unhealthy relationship who says yes because they fear the consequences of making their partner mad if they say no. These yeses are not freely given, so they're not truly consensual. Or imagine someone who's had a few drinks. One is someone too intoxicated to say yes and mean it. In the moment, it's not always clear. If you start drinking, it can be hard to tell when you're too drunk to make good choices. Like in one 2023 study, researchers interviewed multiple pairs of tailgaters where each person had an average of 4 to 5 drinks. Most tailgaters said if the opportunity arose, they themselves were not too intoxicated to consent to sex. But if their tipsy friend wanted to have sex right now, women were more likely to be like, girl, no, even though they'd had about the same amount to drink. This isn't to say that consent can only happen when you're 100% sober, but when alcohol is in the mix, it's especially important to check in with your partner, asking things like, what do you want to do now? Do you need a break? And are you sure you want to purchase 75 Selena Gomez garden gnomes? And don't forget, check in with yourself too. Do I like this? Do I still want this? If the answer isn't yes, it's time to stop. Now, to be clear, real enthusiastic consent isn't some mythical thing like a working ice cream machine at McDonald's. It happens all the time, every day. But saying yes to sex or any kind of physical intimacy is a decision that can get muddied by culture, power, and alcohol. So it's worth paying attention not just to what someone says, but to the whole picture. Are they being pressured into saying yes? Did they say yes to touching here or just there? And no matter how far you've gone, a yes can always turn into a no. I promise. The purpose of all of this is not to make consent feel like a bunch of hoops you gotta jump through. It's to make sure sex is a good time for everyone, that it's fun, pleasurable, joyful. Consent isn't just a safeguard against a bad time, it's the gateway to a really great time. And research backs this up. Studies show a close link between sexual satisfaction and consent, which makes sense, because behind an enthusiastic yes, there are all kinds of good feelings going on, like, I feel comfortable with you. I like this. I want this. I'm buying this Samuel L. Jackson garden gnome, and I have the perfect place to put it. What is it with you and the garden gnomes? Teen Chan, don't knock it till you have a garden to put it in, okay? Also, phrases like, can I do this to you? Or I want you to do that to me. These are ways of confidently owning what you want. And no matter what sexual scripts tell you, it's totally okay to express what you want and that you want it. Or that you're not into something. In that case, you can say things like, I don't want to have sex, but I do want to make out. Or, I like you, but this isn't what I want right now. Or simply, let's stop. This doesn't feel right. Consent is a lifelong practice, not something you learn once in sex ed and forget about, and not something you only talk about at the start of a relationship. It's something we should always be practicing. And it's a path to better sex, more joy, more pleasure, and more trust and respect for your partner and yourself, which is pretty hot if you ask me. Next time, we're talking all about porn. See you there. This episode of Crash Course Sex Ed was produced in partnership with the Kinsey Institute at Indiana University. If you are interested in learning more, visit their website for resources that explore the topics we discussed in the video today. Thank you for watching this episode, which was filmed at our studio in Indianapolis and was made with the help of all of these enthusiastically consenting people. If you want to help keep Crash Course free for everyone forever, you can join our community on Patreon.